Good day and greetings from the Great White North. My name is Prickly Poo and welcome to day 76 of a year of change. Today is Friday, so once again we're going to we're going to throw up. There we go. Have a good weekend. Blech. We are going to throw up a documentary for you to see. Now, I know lately we've sort of had the same sort of thing. I mean, last week we had the wheat one, which is a little bit different. But in general, these do sort of seem to be the same, showing someone who's, on the extreme end of weight gain, just sort of watching their struggles and things like that. So this one is sort of similar, but I wanted to, not really just to keep pushing the same thing, going, oh my God, look how fat they are, but just to sort of impress upon you the fact that this is not something that is, it is still rare, but it's not something that's so rare that these people are, in the Guinness Book of World Records. There are some people that are in there. I believe that the person in this one actually was in there at one point. But just the fact that we have people that are 800 or 900 pounds or higher that are still not in the Guinness Book of World Records. And it's a really strange thing to try to figure out when you think, there are enough people in the world that are that weight. You might be one of them if you're watching. There are enough people in the world that it's no longer, it's still very rare, but it's not a unique situation. Now, this one actually doesn't sort of, another reason why I sort of wanted to show this one, this doesn't just stay in the United States. A lot of the ones that we've been showing, it's, pretty much everything has been in the United States. There was one that was in Guam, but, this one actually follows a person in Mexico and one in the States and one in India, as it just sort of goes through the different struggles that they're having and how they're dealing with it differently. The person that's in India is a really young guy. He's like 18, 19 years old, and he knows he's getting to a stage where things are getting worse and worse and worse. So he opts for bariatric surgery, which we touched on a few weeks ago, or a few days ago. I don't know when we talked about it, but it was a while ago. And although from my perspective, I'm looking at it going, back when I was 19 years old, I probably would have done the same thing, even though in my head I think, no, you're still young enough, you can make the changes and things are fine, but obviously I didn't, otherwise I wouldn't be where I am. So it's, watching him make that decision to sort of go through that, and just the stress and the fear that his family goes through, because it's not a simple matter of saying, there, your stomach is smaller, you won't eat as much and you'll be fine. It's a major life change. There's another guy that's in the U.S., and he's a trucker, and it sort of follows him along with his regular issues that he has, but it sort of focuses in on the fact that he was going for a physical to see if he could continue to work. And that was sort of adding more stress on top of everything else, because he wasn't sure that, if he passes, or he wasn't sure that he was going to pass to begin with, that he's going to even be allowed to work. That they may just say, no, you're not allowed anymore, in which case, he can't make money, he can't work, he loses his home, he loses everything. So it's sort of nerve-wracking watching him go through that. And he does he very plainly says, you know what? Yeah, we buy a lot of junk food. This is how we eat. This is what the problem is. He doesn't sugarcoat it that way. And he does mention the fact, and we've touched on this before, and it's one of those subjects that sort of draws a lot of ire from other people, that it is an addiction. It's not a disease. It's not anything like that. It's an addiction. The problem is that when people say that, there are some people that get really, really fucking mad at you when you say that. And like some of the comments when you go through different documentary videos and stuff like that, there was one actually pertaining to this, because he says, I face my drug every single day. And people are saying, how dare you compare this? I had someone who, a friend of mine that died from an overdose of heroin. And they actually called him a waste of skin or waste of life, I think. I almost coughed and burped and hiccuped and everything at the same time. Sorry. So just the hatred that sort of spews out at this. And he wasn't saying, oh, I'm in the same boat as a heroin addict. So let's make this perfectly clear, just sort of once and for all. Food, I think everyone that is in our situation would agree, food is addictive. We go through the same things. We go through withdrawal. It's still mild, but we do go through withdrawal if you don't have that sugar rush, or if it's salt that you're craving, whatever it is. You have your cravings, but you do go through withdrawal. There's a psychological attachment to it. There's an emotional attachment to it. We've said it so many times before. All food is comfort food for us. And so it's treated the same way, in our body anyway, it's treated the same way as a drug. That even when you're full to the point of being sick, you still want more food. You still just want to keep eating and tasting and chewing and everything else. And it is difficult. Now, it's obviously not the same as like heroin or cocaine or any of that stuff. I mean, we know that. We aren't comparing it to that. The severity of it isn't what we're comparing. I mean, we're still slowly killing ourselves the same way that any other drug addict would be. But we aren't in like an alleyway somewhere given a hand job for pound cake with buttercream icing. Actually, I probably shouldn't have used the term hand job and pound and buttercream while describing that. So sorry. But it's not like we're out, stealing from people and, all the other stuff that sort of goes along with a really harsh drug addiction. So we know that. When we say that, we aren't making that comparison. So stop saying that we are. What we're saying is that there is an emotional attachment to it. There's a very severe lack of willpower that goes into it. And just like other drugs, or like alcohol or anything else, then there is that dependency on it because it solves all of our immediate problems. When we're depressed, we eat and it makes us feel better. When we're happy, we eat because we're celebrating and it makes us feel better. When we're bored, we eat and it makes us feel better. It is a drug. It's an addiction just like anything else. It's just that we aren't good. Well, some of us technically, that's really what obesity is, I guess, is just we're overdosing on food. It's just going to take us 20 or 30 years to do it. I mean, you see old people and you see fat people. You don't very often see fat old people. So there is that health risk that goes along with it. Obviously not the same. We don't really have little methadone clinics where you're sitting with a little cup of, icing sugar, shooting that down first thing in the morning. So just to sort of lay everything out there, this is not the same as heroin and cocaine and everything else, but it is an addiction. And we are probably the first people to admit that, to say, no, it's an addiction. It's not a matter of saying, oh, I just can't get away from it because they make everything so tasty. Well, not salad. I mean, there are some things that we just go, but it's always the same. It's either high fat or high sugar. Anyway, I'm getting off on a rant. We're going to try to focus on the documentaries here. Because I've given you a really nice image of someone giving a hand job for a pound cake. But it did have buttercream icing on it. So, you got to give them some leeway there. Anyway, the third person that is in the documentary is someone named Manuel Uribe. And at one point at his heaviest, he weighed over 1,300 pounds. So to put that sort of into perspective, that's like 1.3 ton, 1.3, so 3.6, over half a ton. Hence the name of the documentary, now that I think about it. That was really stupid. I'm not going to edit that out. Anyway, he weighed about 1,300 pounds. So when you're looking at what a normal person would weigh, he weighs the same as 6 or 7 people at his heaviest. I can't remember exactly how much he weighed in the documentary, but at one point he had shed over 500 pounds while he was doing this. This is someone, I mean, that's an amazing feat to begin with. This is someone, he knew how bad things were going, and he really tried hard to lose the weight. He started, trying to warn people that are starting out very young, saying, you don't want to end up looking like me. And part of the documentary sort of follows him leaving his house and going out to do this public speaking. And along the way, he picks up the different foods that he normally would have eaten on the way there. Just saying, here's how much I would put into my body. He does have people that, give him proper food. They've adjusted, his intake with doctors and everything else. And he was making a genuine attempt to lose the weight that he could. And I think at that point, I don't know if it's in the documentary, but at some point he had lost over 500 pounds. I will tell you, unfortunately, as I said, there are no fat old people. So about a year after they finished filming the documentary, or about a year after it aired, which is about a year ago now, he was admitted to the hospital and unfortunately never came out. At the time, though, he was still he had lost, I think, he was still under 900, so he had still maintained over 400. I think it was 440 some pounds that he had taken off at that point. And he had tried creating like a foundation to sort of help people get the help that they need if they were addicted to food and things like that, which unfortunately never came to fruition because he unfortunately didn't last that long. And I know that's sort of a downer to put in there just right off the hop so that when you're watching it, you know that he didn't make it. But unfortunately, with someone that's that size, and even someone my size, you generally know that you're never going to see a follow-up with them unless they do something drastic. You're not going to see a follow-up to them, 20 years down the road, because we simply just don't make it. We've done too much damage for too long, and the fact that we don't bother trying anything else to try to fix that just makes things worse. Now, hopefully, what we're doing here is going to help. The progress has been slow the past week, but there is still progress there. So I'm hoping I will last a little bit longer than 20 years. If I just stop making videos all of a sudden, then you'll probably understand why. Don't be sad. It's okay. I'm fine. I'm here. Just calm the fuck down. Everyone just calm down. You're fine. Anyway, so although the majority of the documentaries that we have been showing are things like this, where it's showing people in the most extreme circumstances, the reason why I keep putting them up there isn't to say, okay, be careful or this is how you're going to turn out. It's because I can see myself getting to that situation if I don't do something now. I don't doubt that if I was just to keep going the way I'm going before we started all this, then I would, I'd hit those marks, 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 700 pounds, because just I have no fucking off switch. Just whatever's there, I would just eat. I would eat when I'm bored, happy, sad, just distracted, no matter what it is. And there isn't any reason for it. It's just a matter of, no, there was food there, so of course I'm going to do it. And as long as I could afford it, I'm going to keep doing that. So when you're watching these, and it's not sort of a scare tactic, like scared straight sort of thing, but some of you may be out there that you're in that same situation as well. And part of the reason why I'm showing those to you is that you're not stuck in the position that you're in now. There are ways out of it. People have done it. People that are larger than you have done it. And they're successful. I mean, unfortunately, in this particular case, obviously, things didn't work out the way that he wanted to. But he's just so far gone to such... I mean, he was almost 50 years old. And when you're 1,200 pounds at 50 years old, it's really difficult to come back from that. But he still did it. He still managed to take off over a third of his body weight in the sort of long-term sort of thing. So if you're in that position where you're looking at this and going, I'm either in that position now or I can see myself getting there, that's what we're here for. It's so that you aren't doing this alone, that you can look at it and say, no, other people have done this and you can do this too. It is going to be difficult right from day one. We never said, oh, this is going to be so much easier than what you've done before. It's going to be a snap. You're going to zip right through it. Everything's going to be fine. It is difficult. It does take work to do it. But that is something that we can do. And we've tried to make this as easy as we possibly can by making those small little changes and gradually adding stuff before we start taking stuff away. So that it's not just a simple matter of saying, okay, we're going to start a new diet. No more sugar, no more carbs, no more fat. Because they simply just don't work. And it's not because they're, planned out poorly or that they technically don't work. It's because we don't work in that situation. We can't just all of a sudden cut out everything that we've been eating and expect that we're going to stick with it. It's like quitting smoking cold turkey. It almost never happens, and eventually people will go back to it. The only difference is that you don't need to smoke to stay alive. You aren't surrounded by cigarettes all the time. Anyway, I'm sort of going off topic here once again, and I do apologize for that. But take a look at this one. It's called Half Ton World. It was put up by National Geographic back in 2013. So it's just sort of, again, accompanies everything that we've been watching and what we've been doing. As things progress, we are going to sort of start steering away from the extreme ends of everything and trying to do things that are a little more healthy. Or not necessarily healthy, I suppose, when I think about it, because next week one is another one about, how obesity is affecting people. but not to the same extent that a lot of these have been, where they're 900 pounds or over 1,000 pounds in some cases, because you can only really watch so much of that, and then you get desensitized and think, okay, well, that's not my situation. For some of you out there, it is. And I'm hoping that you'll be able to see some of these and take some inspiration from it and take some motivation from it and say, even if it's a pound a week, you can do it. Other people have done it. You'll be able to do it as well. For those of you out there that are to a stage that you think, yeah, I'm way well over where I should be, you can start making those changes, and you can sort of undo a lot of the work, the damage that we've done, the damage that we've done over the past few years. And if there are some of you out there that are, just starting to get to that point where you think, you know what, I've gained 20 or 30 pounds in the past year, and I can see myself continuing on, then there's something here for you as well, where you can stop things. And because you've got people that will say, here's how I started, I sat around, I did nothing, and I just ate just to eat, there's no reason for it. And hopefully those little tips and tricks and things like that from myself and the other YouTubers that are on here and the community that we're building, that you'll be able to take something from that and hopefully prevent getting to a stage where many of us are now. But for right now, that's it for this video. I sort of went all over the place once again. Sorry about that. I found I'm tending to do that a little bit more. And yesterday was just a crapshoot. I went all over the place and talked about everything under the sun. But I think it worked, so we're okay. But we're at the end of a week again tomorrow, so we'll sort of review everything there. And I've got a few little tidbits of news, which are entertaining, and some that are funny, and some that are weird. And just sort of, again, another thing which was a severe lack of planning on my workplace's part. So we'll talk about that as well. But for right now, thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked it, please poke the like button for me. And in the meantime, keep yourself warm and fuzzy, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.